Hello, and welcome to the Change of Plans podcast. I'm Anaita Azizi, and this is a podcast where we talk about unexpected turns, bold moves, and what happens when life doesn't go according to plan. Each episode, I sit down with people who've changed careers, taken risks, or completely redefined what success looks to them. We talk about the messy middles, the lessons learned, and why sometimes the best things happen when the plan falls apart. So whether you're in the middle of a pivot, thinking about making a change, or just here for the stories, welcome, and let's get into it. Today's episode is a little different. It's a bonus episode, and my guest is someone who's known me my entire life, whether he wanted to or not, my brother Samir Azizi. Samir has built a career in digital marketing and PR, working with brands across Canada and the US, with a focus on crypto, AI, and emerging tech. Basically, while I've been deep in the world of funding, operations, and startups, he's been out there figuring out how to make people care about them. We also both somehow ended up podcasting. Samir runs Azizi Podcast, and in this episode, we're talking about how we got into it, why we do it, and what we actually learned along the way. Expect career talk, a little sibling banter, and maybe some big brother advice. I wanted to change the view, but it's fine. It's kind of just
good.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much for coming.
You're
Glad
welcome.
it worked out. Glad it worked out with Zoom. I'm trying new microphones and nothing goes according to plan. And I did it to myself, calling it change of plans. They
Okay.
keep changing. Like, this is the only clean spot in my apartment where I was like, okay, this is a good backdrop. Yeah, so I briefly scrabbled a lot of things what I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, I can't believe you had to look me up on Perplexity, your own brother. Like, what?
Yeah, I saw on threads that someone posted like normalize getting to know your siblings now when you're growing up.
And you chose Perplexity.
No, and I was like, interesting. Let me stalk him as if I don't know him. What's gonna tell me? Nothing I wouldn't know. Then I tried to stalk myself, and then it kind of collided both of our profiles, so that was weird.
Interesting.
So yeah, maybe I'll ask you the first question. Just tell me about yourself then.
Sure. My name is Samir Azizi. I'm your brother. And this is just for the audience, right? Because they probably don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe you'll do like an introduction later. I was born and raised in Kazakhstan. I left Kazakhstan when I was 17 to go study in the United States. I went to school, grad school, and also worked there for a little bit, altogether for 9 years, and then came back to Kazakhstan, and now I'm in Canada. So I've been here for more than 5 years, and yeah, that's kind of like just about me. My change of plans includes immigration country change and my career change, and just like, I don't know, maybe aspects of my life as well. Depends on your questions as well. But yeah, that's just about me.
Yeah, when I was preparing for this episode, I was like, what should I ask him? Change in career, change in life, and change in whatever else. Actually, when I was starting this podcast, I was thinking about you and me and how, for me, it always seemed that you take change much better. Like, you need to change a job, you take it easier. You need to change a focus or like a profession or your profile, you take it much easier. And for me, it's like, oh no, I need to change the country. I actually remember when I was living in Switzerland, I had a conversation with you like, no, I don't want to even apply to the US because I don't want to do anything about visas.
Right. Well, United States is a whole different beast, right? They don't even have like the um, the straightforward kind of immigration path. So I think like looking back, it might have been a good decision on your end.
Yeah, retroactively for sure. And I actually applied to Germany only because you told me to. Because you were like, no, apply anyways, and then it was free to apply. And I just applied to get you off my back, and now I'm here. Thank you for this.
I have no recollection of that. That's interesting. All right.
Yeah, I was applying for like 6 universities, and I was gonna not apply to Germany because I was like, yeah, whatever. I don't want to write another letter. And then I did because you insisted. So that was nice.
Interesting. Are you sure about that? Because I don't have no recollection of that.
No, I'm pretty sure I literally have one brother I can talk to about that too.
Got it. Okay. Well, I guess you're welcome, or I'm sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we'll figure out after the
Hmm.
election or something. So yeah, we already spoke, like you already mentioned, change of plans, and I wanted to ask you, for example, when people ask me what your brother does, or like whenever I talk about you, I'm like, yeah, he does business development, affiliate marketing, which I don't know what's that, AI, and crypto. Did I
Hmm.
get that right? What is your focus right now? How did you get there?
Also cybersecurity. But it's I get annoyed when I get asked that as well because I do have a lot of things, and I think first and foremost I'm a podcaster. I have a podcast that I started in 2019 and has been hosting it ever since. It's called Azizi Podcast, and that's just like the one thing that really identifies me as who I am because it only involves me, and I have ultimate, say and control over it. And whenever things are going chaotic or there are changes of plans and all of that, I love that there's one thing that is always constant is that it's my podcasts. And to be honest, it's a great lucrative thing that gave me a tremendous ROI, not necessarily as direct cash transaction, but all the networking relationships, clients, and employment that I got from it. So first and foremost, I'm a podcaster. But of course, I do a lot of things, and you have to be a little bit of a chameleon and say the right thing when you're talking to certain people, right? Because if I'll tell you I'm a podcaster to like some, actually, podcasting is cool now everywhere, so you can say it everywhere actually. But it is annoying to me because yes, I do a lot of things, um, and it's still kind of unconventional to be involved in a lot of things. I have two companies that I'm leading. One is Parkdale Intelligence, which is my marketing agency, and one is a Smart Closer AI, which is an AI education company slash direct to consumer application for artificial intelligence education based on audio content. I'm also a board member and director of artificial intelligence at Cybersecurity Global Alliance, which is more like a charity thing, but we are doing a lot of great projects there, and it's kind of accelerating right now. Um, there's probably something else that I forgot. Like, I'm very involved with boxing, but it's also part of my Parkdale Intelligence business now, which is sponsorships and athlete management and stuff like that. But yeah, like try to kind of say that in the cocktail party, right? Like mumble through all of that thing. So you have to really identify what do you like, what do you do. And I think when I choose to say that, I just say I'm an agency owner and I specialize in affiliate marketing, which is what was my basically schooling in Canada when I switched my professions from being an accountant. So I was an accountant for 6 years in the United States, came to Canada, changed my plans to become a client success manager because I wanted to talk to people and stuff. But yeah, I'll stop there, but feel free to do a follow-up question.
Nice. There's a couple of follow-ups already coming to my mind. Well, first of all, when you mentioned podcasting and saying that you identify with that the most, and that's something that you like having control over when everything goes wherever way it goes, this is something you feel really confident about. And that's exactly why I started this podcast, because I had one before and it felt like I must do a lot of things certain way. And this one I want to be like, no, I'm just gonna do something that is not my job. So I don't identify myself with my job, but I have my own project, which I'm gonna have control over. And the idea at the beginning was I was gonna call it monthly. So idea was
Mm.
just whatever happens, every month something needs to be out. No concept, nothing, just every month something out. And I was like, yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna pitch it to people when I invite them. So we did more digging into that and so ended up here. And another thing, I'm gonna ask you about the podcast later, but since you brought up being generalist and it's something, yeah, I hear a lot that people are like, no, you kind of need to find your niche and you need to establish yourself in this niche. And honestly, I don't know how. I actually resonate much more with what you say. Like, yes, I do a lot of things and I'm involved in a lot of things which are different, to establish myself there. Because honestly, in this market, like work market in this world right now, I don't know how you can just be in one niche when everything is changing so constantly. And a lot of things you mentioned, you actually, besides probably boxing and podcasting, started directly in Toronto, right? And you moved 5 years ago?
More than 5 years ago, and one thing I did mention and started before Toronto is crypto. Like, I'm very heavily involved in
Yeah.
crypto as well, and kind of like one of the veteran professionals in this industry. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Damn, it's been 5 years. In my head, it's always like 1 or 2, 1 or 2, but I
I
guess we
know
moved at the same time. I
there's
moved to
like a
Germany.
3 year gap in everyone's life, I feel like, with everything that was happening.
Yeah. And so yeah, moving to Canada, which is the country is completely new for you. You haven't been before. You haven't. It's not like you came and you check it out and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna move here. So that was very much moving somewhere you've never been and establishing yourself somewhere you've never been and building this new community and building this new network. And just wanted to ask how is it for you? What are your strategies to do that? What are your strategies? Because you mentioned a lot of things and you need to be present in a lot of things. Also, you have to have a lot of energy to be there. So how are you handling that?
Honestly, it was the easiest thing ever because Toronto is such an American city, and I've lived in the United States and California for 9 years. For me, like coming to Canada, I was already employed. I was working remotely and all of that. Um, like people like to say how they struggled with immigration and stuff like that, but I feel like I went through all my struggles in the United States, so that, Canada basically gave me the permanent residency right away just based on my US experience. So I didn't go through all this immigration struggle in Canada that a lot of people here are struggling with. So I came here, I realized like this, like I already had like a friend living here, so he met me and all of that. Shout out to Azim. Yeah, I checked out the city. I was like, okay, well, it's a cool city. It was October, so it wasn't like warm or cold. It was kind of like in between, a little cold though. It was a cool city. I was like, okay, it's a city, like a normal city. I also realized like what the difference is. It's actually pretty clean, and there's like it's much safer. I'm like, okay, this is like easy mode immigration type stuff. And I was like, okay. So I was like looking for I already had money, right? So I got myself like a cool Airbnb for 10 days. My host was actually pretty cool. We're still friends to this day. Shout out to Yuri. And yeah, like went to a hockey game, went to like a soccer game, like check out the stadiums and stuff. And I was like documenting everything on the podcast. And, got my apartment and still renting it. Shout out to my apartment. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. Like um I'm very fortunate in that way. But all that fortunes I feel like came through a tremendous amount of like hustle and struggle before. So I'm very thankful to me in the past. Shout out Samir in the past. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Nice. I'm thinking back when before you moved, because we had like around I had 9 months in Kazakhstan. I think you came back a little bit before me. So we
Yeah.
had this like long gap of being home after not being home as an adult or like after not being home for a while. So it's like reverse culture shock. And I remember like I wasn't completely into that being back home, but now more and more I'm like, yeah, I could be doing all of this back home with way less stress. So I'm
Hmm.
a little bit on a very like it used to be my kind of ultimate goal to be in Germany, to get German passport, to just settle down. I always just wanted to settle down, honestly. I never wanted to move multiple places. I just want to come and just stay here. And kind of world doesn't work that way. So I guess my question is, do you feel that way? Do you feel like you found your home in Toronto? Would you like, or would you wish that you were back in the US or back in Kazakhstan?
It's kind of like a millennial curse, like for millennials to, as like for the Soviet millennials, right? For us, to think that foreign countries are better than ours, and that the best life is out there, and we're worshiping United States culture, we're worshiping Western culture. We grew up on their cartoons and their movies, and everything was top notch while we were shit. That's kind of like what we've kind of associated, and especially in our parents as well. Like, well, you have to get out, you have to get out, you have to get out. And it's funny because Zoomers, for example, right now, and Gen Xers or whatever their name is, they don't think that. They don't listen to much of the United States or American music. They don't watch a lot of United States movies and all that. They kind of have their own culture in any country that they're from, whether it's like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, or Russia, whatever. So it's like. Um, it's a weird ass, I feel like at this point, kind of like an old argument that you have to go study abroad. But at the same time, pragmatically speaking, like it does give you benefits that, your former Soviet Union country does not give you, which is, social stability, safety, blah, blah, blah. Again, it depends, from factor to factor. But after like my United States experience, like when I came back from the US to Kazakhstan, it was the result of me not being able to secure my H-1B visa, which was a massive blow to me because I went through a lot of things to get my employer to sponsor me, a lot of that. So it's like I was very, very close to like getting that. But ultimately didn't get it and had to go back to Kazakhstan. So that was like a huge blow, like I considered it as like a massive failure, like because I was working so hard and all of that. But now looking back, that year in Kazakhstan was probably one of the coolest year of my life because again, I was still employed, and it was like your friends are here, your family's there, and I was still going to the United States. I was doing so much cool shit in the United States, and so it's like wow, like and you party here and you go back, like travel. You went to party, like I went to Portugal and all of that. It was a cool year, like of like kind of like an in between thing. COVID didn't happen. So to answer your question, like to settle and to stay in Germany, like or whatever, it's like I don't know. Like I feel like nothing is in stone, and you're right. Like for me personally, like I don't see myself. I think Canada is my. I'm a Canadian citizen now. I pledged allegiance to the king. I bend the knee. I serve to his majesty, whatever. And so, and it sounds funny, but for me, like, a my word is my word. So I am like, this is my country. I have no other citizenship. So I do consider this my country, and as a result, I became more political. I became more outspoken, and I feel like my voice matters here. I can vote, and I can't wait to vote here. So, like, I like this country. I feel like it's a country. This country has a huge potential, in my opinion. But as far as like, do I want to like physically be present here all the time and settle here? Well, maybe when I'm old or whatever, like get myself some ranch. And even then, my main problem here is climate. Of course, I'm a sunshine boy, and so I like sunshine. When sunshine is outside, I'm different. When it's gloomy outside, I'm like super down. So yeah, Canada is my country. I love Canada, but do I see myself living somewhere in Dubai, Thailand, Singapore, Kazakhstan? Yeah, absolutely. I can spend like 5 years or whatever. I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with Berlin. It gets dark at 3 p.m. when it's the worst in winter. And just generally, out of 12 months, I think around 6 months, 5 months here suck. But summer is great when it's not super hot. But
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's the whole climate thing is I don't know, I feel like this is, like, the weirdest winter, but maybe that's just because everything else is weird right now in Canada, so it's like, I don't know, like, right now it's sunshine outside and it's super cold. It's like well, not super, but it's minus 10, but it feels nice, like, whatever. So I feel like it's more of, like, the vibes thing. If the vibes are
Mm,
good and it's getting dark earlier, who cares? I don't care. But,
yeah.
like, lately, it's, like, all political here and a lot of uncertainty. We're like in the recession and all of that, and I feel like that kind of contributes to the whole vibes thing.
Yeah, vibes here were also extremely down in the city. Definitely different city that rather than the one I came in 2019. Um, yeah, I just spoke with a friend. I was thinking that when I came to Berlin, it was so I don't know, it was so life changing. I was like, I'm definitely gonna get a tattoo that will symbolize Berlin. And we were talking to him
Oh
like,
my
thank
god!
God I never did it.
Please don't ever do this. This is my another advisory as an older brother. No tattoos, please. This is going to be devastating for everybody in our family.
Why?
It's it's just nah. It's trashy.
Actually, mom said it's okay.
Well, okay, then I say it's not. But of course, it's your life and its own choices. But so far, my track record with advices was okay. So that's my advice to you.
Yeah, I'm in Germany now, so we'll see.
Mm.
Okay. So I wanted to talk to you about your podcast actually, because you started exactly when you came back to Kazakhstan, and I think I mentioned it in a couple of episodes already that I do admire how you started it. Basically, just whatever mic you had, and you started and you started recording, started posting. Which me, I was like, I'm gonna take a course on how to do a podcast, and then I'm gonna get a proper equipment, and then
Yeah.
and then and then and then and then I only had 10 episodes for the feminist podcast, and only three so far for this one. When you had, I think, I don't know, over 200 episodes at this point.
No, over 100. I have like 114. I'm also like not consistent, so like lately I'm only going by like if I feel like recording something. But ask your question and I can elaborate.
Yeah. So because you started in 2018, I don't think even podcasts were that popular. I definitely didn't listen to any podcasts. How did you like, I'm just going to start a podcast? What was your like thinking behind it? And then would you do anything differently if you would be starting today? And do you think it's still worth to start the podcast now if you haven't done it like before a couple of years?
Well, just a small correction. I started this podcast, Azizi Podcast, in June 2019. But my first podcast I started in 2009 with my friend Andre. Um, and that was in Santa Barbara. And so that's when no one knew about podcasting. Podcasting was like from former radio personalities that got laid off and they decided to do something on their own. So 2009, like imagine that. And so we started that podcast, and we were really consistent, and we had our little fan base and all of that. It was in Russian language. Um, so we later stopped and all of that, but
Is
ever
it
since
somewhere out
like
there?
no, I think it's on my hard drive. That's the only copy. Maybe like it might be somewhere. I tried to look for it, but yeah, it was epic. It was like so like not for anyone's ears and all of that. I still have people texting me missing that podcast. By the way, they're like, "When are you gonna like start that format?" Because no one like people. Some people don't like my like boring interview formats. But yeah, like I was obsessed with podcasting ever since, and um, I missed it a lot when we stopped the first podcast because we had it until like for like more than a year we're doing it. I was like, I described how I got accepted to universities, took my ACTs. It was like literally like a diary of our lives, um, in like a funny manner, in a funny manner. And then I started another podcast, which was called West Today, and I only did like 3 episodes, and I just didn't like the format because it was just like a solo, no interviews or nothing. So I tried to like talk about current events, and I tried to be someone that I'm not. Like I was like reading from the paper and all that. Really didn't like it, and just kind of dropped that. So that was in 2016, I think, when I was living in Ventura, California. And so when I was in Kazakhstan, I think that was in 2019. It was Gary V. I mean, I was listening to a lot of Gary V. He is like this dude who is a marketing agency owner, also like a motivational speaker. Do you know him, Gary V? Yeah. So he is like about content and all of that, and he basically said, just start the podcast and like start calling people and just ask them questions like them and to, like ask them like about their life and then do a follow up. Then what happened? Then what happened? And so I just started that, and I still had my mic that was not like a dynamic or condenser or something like that. It was not as a studio microphone, and I was just like inviting my friends, and it seemed fun, and I really enjoyed it. I did it for several episodes, and then I decided to buy real mics. Which, by the way, I'm still using the same exact mics. Which shout out to Shure 58.
The
Uh,
mic is really nice, the one you use, and the sound is really good.
yeah. Thank you. So yeah, it's like, and I bought it very cheaply, like for $50, I think. Um, and I bought two of them, so I started doing it in a better quality, and it was all audio. Then I moved to Canada. I switched from Russian language to English language, which is a funny switch in the podcast. And yeah, started inviting people. It was before COVID to my place, and like we did an interview, and I was filming everything on a shitty camera on my laptop. Yeah, so it's like COVID started, and I really accelerated with Zoom. I started doing like 5 interviews per week and all of that. It was pretty cool. And they were like 1 hour long, so definitely, I'm still posting content on YouTube, like short, like cutting little clips from that. But my thing about it is that I don't really care about quality that much lately. My dream is to have a studio and have a good quality, and just like really like have like the Joe Rogan type or whatever, like just like nice. But it's just like I realize that it's a lot of bandwidth, it's a lot of expense right now. But I do this podcast for myself, and the quality right now that I'm doing is actually pretty fine. And Zoom is helping. They're actually upscaling the quality of the recorded video. They downgraded it from 720 to 360, like the cheap asses they are. But then they finally like upgraded it to 1080p. So the video that we're filming right now is actually going to be in HD quality, I think. And so my advice is that if you find someone interesting to talk to or an interesting subject to talk about, no one gives a damn about quality. Like, I don't care how good of quality is. Oh, like, it's like a weird thing that newbies are thinking about. Like, oh my God, I'm hearing a background noise. No, I have to I have to make sure that everything is studio quality if before I listen to some podcast. It never happens. If I listen to my podcast with like my favorite political commentators, my favorite like gym bros workouts, or or like crypto or anything, if they give me a good content, if there's like an interesting information, I really don't care what kind of quality sound they have or what kind of video they have. It's all about content. It's all about the context, and that's why you just have to make sure that you talk about something interesting for the people. But also, you don't have to. Like, you make sure like you talk about something interesting that is interesting to you, because if you try to cater to people all the time, it's just like it gets very boring. And that's exactly where I stopped doing the whole thing. And I was like, I'm just gonna talk to people who I'm dealing with right now or who I want to talk to, and I'm just gonna record this podcast. And now it serves as a basically my personal diary that is publicly available. That's all.
How come? First of all, I've never knew that you had podcasts before this one, and that you have like so much more experience before that and you tried different things before. So my question first would be like, have you ever considered starting a YouTube channel and why didn't you? Like exactly the same format, maybe just like talking head situation, like about your life in the
But I do
US
have a
or
YouTube channel.
yeah, but like you know how some people do like vlogs or like things like that.
Yeah. YouTube's thing wasn't that like there wasn't that kind of f- popular back in 2009 if we're talking about that time, and the cameras were not so great. We were just starting to get like phones with 720p and all that. Um and it's just like a different kind of deal with, yeah, like it was just not around the YouTube thing. Like it wasn't like for some people they were doing this, but it wasn't a thing. We barely started getting Instagram in 2013. Facebook was a thing. There was no video on Facebook. So, but yeah, YouTube was definitely a thing. It's just no one was doing it. Like, I'm not saying like it's like I shouldn't have done it. Maybe it would be great if I did it because it was my kind of passion to go out there and interview people on the street. It was definitely my plan to be on YouTube. Actually, I'm lying. I did want to start a YouTube channel obsessively. I just realized when I moved to Kazakhstan for summer break, I was trying to be Kasim. And this is the guy. Yeah, I'm totally like spacing out on this. He was the YouTuber on Venice Boulevard who was interviewing all the weirdos on Venice Beach. Sorry, and I was like, oh my god, this is hilarious. I should totally do that in Kazakhstan with the mic and all of that. And I was trying to like rally my friends around it, but it never like again like we had to find a camera, we had to find a good mic and all of that. And at that time, it was like still kind of like so out of our reach. Even like in 2019 when I started, no one was doing podcasting in Kazakhstan. I was like one of 20 people who were doing that in Kazakhstan. And now look at everyone. Everyone's like obsessed with it. And everyone in Kazakhstan has such a great quality podcast, like with the videos and shit. And because it's all cheap there, but like you spend maybe time like you rent out a studio or something, but everything else is just like whatever. But also, it's not don't mean to demean them. It's actually pretty good that they're doing it. So you could see that the people are putting in the real effort. Um, but yeah, so I did want to do it. It's just I didn't have I guess the time and the motivation. I did have the time, didn't have the motivation, probably the proper one. But it is very fun to like go out there and interview. As a kid, I was my grandma, I think, bought me a Walkman, the player that had a dictaphone, the recording device, and I was walking around everywhere in our little neighborhood, starting like recording interviews with random people, and that was hilarious. Like everyone, because that was like 90s or early 2000s, like it was still kind of like out of everyone's reach. Cassette player, right? And then to releasing those recordings and all that, that was so weird. But it was like magical. And I think I had that passion of like interviewing and recording ever since.
Yeah, I remember you got a video camera as a birthday gift, one of the gifts, because I asked
Yep.
for camera that just цифровая камера, normal
Digital
camera, I don't know.
camera. Digital
Digital
camera.
camera, yeah, I asked for that, and you got a still analog, but was a more like electronic cassette, I don't know. But I
Yeah,
remember you've been recording those as well.
we got really scammed with that one because it shouldn't have been a cassette player.
Yeah.
We should have literally got a digital camera. And it was so weird. But yeah, that camera still was a lot of fun. I wish we could like find those cassettes and digitize them and clean them and all of
Oh,
that.
I'm sure they're home. I'm sure the camera is still home.
Yeah, but I remember the cassettes were actually like for some reason the quality went down or something like that. With time the tape is like
Mm.
getting dirty or something. So I hope that it's we can still clean it somehow.
Actually, question, I don't know if you wanna stick around longer than 40 minutes, but let's see. Um,
Well, 40 minutes is the deadline for this recording if you remember.
yeah, but we can also start a new recording.
Sure.
Anyway, so a question. Um, so you said you switched from Russian to English and you recorded in both languages, and me and you texted English a lot, maybe not all the time, but a lot. Um, all my friends are super surprised when I tell them that. Couple of my friends listened to some of your episodes and they're like, "Is it?" They said something like, "Is it in your blood that you both speak such?" It was such a nice accent, which for me I struggle sometimes. I depends on my mood. But with you, you always have still stick such a Silicon Valley accent. But also, I do. I don't know how is it
Not
for you.
Silicon Valley, the Valley, the California, the Valley girl
Yeah,
accent.
whatever the accent. um, what was my question? Anyways, I noticed that any language I speak, I very much change in personality.
Hmm.
In English, it's the easiest for me. Russian, I'm more reserved. Okay, thank you. 10 minutes. How's it for you? Do you feel like you're different in English? Do you feel like it comes to you much easier? All this like showman vibes?
Yeah, it's something that I talk to a lot as well. I definitely do have a switch in personality. But it's funny because when I talk to you, I'm more calm. I'm noticing in English right now because it's the first time I'm speaking with a relative in English, and it's just like I'm so like not how I am when I'm with my guests. With my guests, I'm like, exactly how you described it, quirky and shit. Right now, I'm just like absolutely like drop the guard, I would say. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much how. But you remember me, like I was always quirky in Russian or whatever. I'm the class clown. Like it never was like a different thing with me. But it's definitely like there's less. I don't know. It's definitely different. Like you feel that in your personality, but it's mostly like maybe it's a personality assumption, or maybe it's some sort of you putting the guard on. Um, but it's definitely there. Like you're switching, like, and language is connected to your brain. Like the neural whatever connections are different when you speak in one language and another. That's why I feel like it's really great for kids to learn different languages. It really massages your brain until like developing these neurons, new connections, and all that. But the first thing that you said, oh, the English texting. Honestly, it's just the bandwidth. Like texting in Russian on iPhone, like the keyboard is just like so clunky, like and the words and you realize the words in Russian are so long and complicated. And there's no need like to force it anymore. I used to hate people who speak Russian but then use the English language, but then you realize that, you know what, just for the bandwidth right now, I even speak with my friends who are Russian in English and tech. It's just easier. The English language is much simpler to write on. The autocorrect gets it right most of the time. So it's basically the practicality of it. Nothing like, oh, let's speak English because we're cool. I don't care. It's just like it's easier, it's faster.
Yeah, I agreed 100% about the bandwidth. Yeah, interesting that you said when you speak English with me, it's first time you speak kind of more differently than with your guests. And you're like, oh, you remember me in Russian, I'm quirky. The thing is, I don't. Because with me, you would still be different than how you're in school or how you with friends. And that's why I actually like speaking in English with you because I feel like in Russian, there's still this vibe like older brother, younger sister. And I think this time with speaking, and it's first time I feel like we're very much leveled out,
Why do
leveled
you need
in.
this leveling out? Just keep it as a older brother,
I don't
younger
say I
sister.
need it. I
Why is
say
it a
like
why is it a bad thing?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying it's interesting. Like I
Okay.
feel like it's easier to have a more of an open conversation, but still kind of reserved. I don't know. Interesting vibe. I never spoke with someone with a relative or like with a friend who I'm openly speaking in Russian and just switched to English because like it puts filter on you. So it's also an interesting experience.
That's definitely an interesting experience. Yeah. I one thing I really regret is that I didn't record a podcast with my grandma because that was my kind of plan. And I did not. And so I was like, well, I wish we had that like a 1 hour long conversation. It would be such a great recording for the ages. And so now I'm thinking like we should do that with our parents. Maybe that can be like a your project as well.
Interesting you say that. I think about it each time I go back to Kazakhstan. I do bring Zoom
Yeah.
and I always want to sit down with both of them because with mom, it's always like whenever I sit down with her and then I start asking questions, it's a podcast in itself, and I'm like, I should have recorded that. You said so many interesting things about our family.
Mom would be such a great YouTuber. I'm just like she needs to start a channel.
Yeah, or she should start writing or something. She's really great with that. And with that, with him, it's whenever you crack into that, when he's in the mood to talk more and to like have more complex answers, that's really good. But it happened to me, I don't know, maybe 6 times in the entire life.
Who? I mean, okay.
Yeah, but yeah. I know, I'm confused. Do we wanna stay longer? Or do we can just restart the
Hey,
recording?
you're the boss. I know you're getting
Cool.
like
Let's
anxiety
just
from the five
timer.
minute timer. Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
Let me just end this, send you another link, and I do have a couple of more questions, and we give it 15 more minutes.
All right, that sounds good.
Cool. Okay.
Can I start?
Yeah.
I just want to follow up on the thought about interviewing our dad. The reason I'm taunting you is like the fact that he doesn't like you feel like he's not elaborating on the conversation, that's actually a normal thing, right? Because if we're talking an interview, like when I say interview, I want to have a professional interview. And so in the life of an interviewer or podcaster, there's always like people who are not much to talk about, but that's the beautiful challenge, is that how do you get them to talk? And so for me, it's like, if I would approach an interview like that, I would just start with like as I start with a normal guest. But if we're talking about like a retrospect, well, tell me about your life thing, it's like a very easy thing. So you have like questions and you ask them like, well, where did you grow up? What's your first childhood memory? Like those are the questions that I would be asking. And if he or any other guest don't want to answer that, that's fine. We can move on, or you can dig deeper. Like, why don't you want to answer that? And so it's like, it's not like, for me, it would be like, oh, daddy, like I'm your son. Let's talk about our relationship. It's more of like, I'm a podcaster and I'm trying to document your life because I feel like your life is interesting. And it's just like, let's talk about that. And um, perhaps, and honestly, it's going to be like, with all my guests, like I have a real bonding experience when I have that. We become like really good friends. So I honestly think that that's why it's such a cool challenge, because you're trying to actually do something in public, right? Because it's not a conversation between you and him personally. It's a conversation between you, him, and the audience. And that's what makes it so different and new. So I definitely still recommend doing that.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, when I was talking, it was not because of like being scared that he's not going to respond or he's actually into that. I told him a couple of times and he's like, yeah, let's do that. It's just me who never really
Oh
set
yeah,
up all the things.
he is craving that media attention. I know him. He loves this whole public thing.
Yeah, because for me, it's like both of our parents and their life, it's like interesting in itself, but it's interesting also in a retrospective or like as a juxtaposition with political situation. Like our life, you and me, and how it went. It's also very interesting how it went because of political situations in both Afghanistan and Kazakhstan and like Soviet expansionist policies and things like that. And we had actually a really interesting conversation with him about Afghan politics. And those I really regret not recording. So yeah, a lot of things that it's not just with them, it's not just interesting about their personal life, but it's a very interesting the words escaping me, like a complex. Oh my god. Samir, are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah, my Mac just threw me away. Yeah, it's just really interesting how their life intervenes with political situations or political developments. And I think like it's also we're all living in historical events, but they've been through a lot of historical events and they
Mm,
kind of made it through. So in that sense, I was thinking how to put them together as maybe one project, maybe it should be a video. And again,
mm,
I want to make it perfect or I want to make it cool. I want to make it like a product. In the end, I don't make anything. And that's something that
yeah.
like always I always have this approach to a lot of things because I want to do them like in a certain way. And because I cannot do them, I just don't do them, which I think there should be a fair balance for that.
Yeah, I advise against it. Like, not like, again, like, as I told you before, like it's all like, I really respect that you want to do like, and I really like this idea, the whole documentary cycle on living through political events through the eyes of your parents. That's like that sounds like I don't know, like academic stuff. But I would still do it even if you don't have the production team behind you or something like that. Just freaking like at least record them, and then you can post, edit that in post and like get some background and stuff. Um, but like it's funny because I have a different idea of like, I just want to learn about childhood and student life and just like maybe the 90s, like more of like biography stuff. Like, and it seems like you have like more of like, let's parallel the current political events with your backgrounds and all of that. And for me, for some reason, it's like less interesting, more like than the person. I'm more like in the personal thing. Like I dig in people. Like that's how I do my things with podcasts. But yeah, you have like a more of a like cinematography kind
Yeah,
of
for
like,
me, it's
yeah.
like it's a conversation between me, them, and an audience, right? Exactly how you said it. And for me, it's like, why would audience care about my childhood? I care about that, but the audience would
See,
care about more.
I think that's a huge, like, my opinion. Of course, don't take it for like granted. But why should audience care about this? Fuck the audience. Like, I don't care. Like, why do I need to cater to what the fuck audience cares about? Like, like that's as soon as you like get over that hump, like whatever that hill, Like, it's just you have so much freedom because all of a sudden, like, what do you care about? Like, that's what you do. And if audience cares, like, and there's so much audience out there, like, someone will care about it or someone not. And trust me, like when you do something and you think audience will care about it, but the audience does not care, that's gonna hurt a lot as well. So
Mm.
like just forget about this whole audience care about. It's a huge, in my opinion, again, just my personal experience, it's a huge error to think about that way. But again, I might be wrong.
Yeah, two things. Just before we move away from that topic about like them talking about the childhood, you were in the university. I was still studying, so we were somehow in their university in Kazakhstan, in Kazgu, Kazakhstan
Hmm.
State University, and walking through. And the campus changed, but it's still the same campus where they studied, right? And it
Hmm.
was like it's experience I've never had with them, and I don't think like the feeling is easy to replicate. They were just walking around and talking about how they were like, oh, I was studying here and he was there, and that's where Samir was playing, and then we forgot him there, and then someone needed to pick him up. So that in itself, like the vibe of them just like walk, and I was like, wow, they're walking around the same university where they studied, and it's still here.
Hmm.
And like for example, I don't think I will ever able to. I'll be able to casually walk my child through my university because we're probably never going to be in the same city or like it's
Why
a
not?
lot of things need to come together for us to do that. First of all, the campus also much smaller.
For you and your
Not many
child?
memories there. No, for like my future children. I don't think I'm just going to casually be like, let's go to Webster University and walk through and show you stuff.
Oh, because it's just like a building?
Two
Or
buildings, okay?
okay. Well, okay. I think it's possible. I honestly think it's like, I don't know. Why not? But anyways, I don't want to interrupt like your chain of thoughts. Yeah, okay. Get it. I disagree. I think it's cool to bring your children to universities and
No, no,
say, "Hey,
no.
this is where I
It's
went to
cool.
school."
It's awesome. But I think I
Right?
won't be able
Or
to.
like it's easy, I think it's easy to do that. Like it's a freaking Switzerland, like in Germany. What is this? Like a 30-minute flight? What the fuck are you talking about here?
Yeah, I'm not going to make like a whole tour to that university. Like, it wasn't even that like milestone to me, to be honest. Like I'm thinking back to my student experiences, and that wasn't a milestone to me. Like Switzerland in itself, experience of living there, yeah. Being in a university, not that much. I was actually thinking back, I was like, not many memories I can bring up from there. Same for Germany. Like because I had Corona for 3 out of 4 semesters, master degree, I don't remember what's been happening there. I got two cool friends out of it. That's it. But I'm kind of very upset about how the university experiences never became milestones for me. How they were for them, or like I don't know if it was for you.
Um, I think it's what your kids think. If they feel like they want to see where did you went to school and they find it interesting, then because you can go to school at any time to your school and check it out. But if it's something about connection about you and your future kids, then let them have their way and like, yeah, son, this is where I went to school. Do you think it's interesting? And they would say like, yeah, it's awesome, or no, it's boring. Let's go, do some other shit. So I guess like don't sell your experiences short is what I would argue.
Sure. And about the audience, actually, yeah, that's what I wanted to ask because for podcast, for me, for example, when I checked months ago how many people listen to the podcast to all the 3 episodes I have, 100,
Hmm.
which is
Okay, not
3-digit
bad.
number. Is great. Love to see that. But then I was like, it's been so much work. It's 100 episodes, so it's around 30 like listens per episode.
I
So
mean, what did
the
you expect? Like thousands?
wait. So for me, like there's so much work you post it, and then you wait for some kind of feedback, but you kind of post it into like an empty room or in a black room, so you never know the feedback.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel. Did you like it? Did you really like it, guys? Did you like? Was there anything interesting? And you get no feedback. And I was like, that's why I like the stand up so much because you go out there, it takes you
Hmm.
1 hour to brush up your set. Okay, maybe a little bit longer to write it. 5 minutes to suffer on the stage if it goes bad, and then instantly you know if people liked it or not, if this material should stay in or out. And for me, it's like, damn, stand up gives me such a instant gratification while podcasting, you work so much. I'm like, when will I see if you actually like what I'm doing? So
Hmm.
for me, like, I see how I will be struggling with it when it, like, moving forward. But how it was for you, did you struggle with it? Did you not care? Did you just keep going, doing?
I thought 100 listens were cool. Like I love the stats when I had those. I was like, wow, 100 people tuned in. That's awesome. Um, it just goes back to at certain point you realize that if you really want to go for it, like there and get like thousands. And so you have to be consistent first of all, and then you have to be also inviting like more high profile guests and stuff like that. Um, but it all depends. Like I kind of I don't see views as the definition of success, as like a benchmark of like I'm successful because I have certain amount of views or subscribers. Although I do have those vanity stats, when I cross like, a couple thousands of subscribers, I was like, oh wow, like, and even that like was all through like live streaming, actually, not even from podcasting. It's the podcast itself for me personally is just documenting this interview between me and my guest, and that's my high. We had this amazing conversation. It is now on record. I have this connection with the guest. We are now friends, and we can do other things in the future. It's just like redefining like why do you do the podcast? Because again, thinking that you want to do the podcast because you want to be a famous podcaster, that will I don't know, it's just like it's a trap that, especially in this saturated market. Just do the podcast because you think you like it and you like enjoying it and you want to do whatever you want to do, and then you kind of cut clips on that. And like I'm still cutting clips of my podcast from 2020, and which is awesome, and they get like some views and stuff like that. But I just like to go through that, and we had that conversation. And when I do my podcast, I do think about my future kids, thinking looking back and like, whoa, well, or like my grandchildren, right? If when I pass away or whatever, and they're like, oh, well, let's see what grandpa was up to. Like, and I have this hours and hours of footage of me talking to different people, and also through those interviews, they can track like how did I do in life and my progress and all of that. That's like my gratification. And I like your point about the instant feedback loop with stand up. I feel like that's a great comparison, and I think it's great that you're doing stand up. It's really cool. Like I think it's actually much cooler than doing a podcast, just because it's so live and it's so in the age of AI. It's going to be such a high demand thing, a live performance like this. Um, so yeah, it's just like don't take yourself too seriously with this podcasting thing. Don't look at the stats. Just do the episode after episode like we do on Zoom. Boom, 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 boom. No matter what the mic is, no matter anything, just have those people lined up that you want to talk to, and it's much easier. And by the way, like I don't know if you noticed, but if you tell people like you invite them to your podcast, they get so happy about it because everyone's ego is so huge. And if you want to interview them, no matter how many subscribers you have, they will be ecstatic, most of them. So it's a huge power to have a microphone, to have a podcast. So that's my rant. That's my TED talk.
Yeah, actually, in all the years I've been doing podcasting, I got only one rejection to invitation. And it was also so sweet. She was like, I really love that you texted me. That's really pleasure to hear that you're interested in my content. I hate podcasting and I hate audio. And I'm like, fair game.
Yep.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Part of the game. Hmm.
Um, to wrap up, I have two questions. I know that every year you do like a year wrap and every year you do resolutions, right? Or goals for the year.
Yeah, definitely the goals.
So how's
Wrap
your
ups as
year
well.
wrap have been? What are any goals you would like to share? How are you doing on the goals achievement? I'm sharing that because for me personally, it's very difficult to set the goals because I'm always scared not to reach them and then be upset. And then I don't know, the past 3 years were so difficult and I just didn't want to upset myself more. And the only resolution for this year I had was to learn how to make lasagna. And
Hmm.
I learned how to do it on January 6th, and I'm like
Hmm.
done for the year. But then actually, and then it turned out to be one of the most fruitful years, this one. So I'm
Hmm.
actually quite satisfied with how it went, no matter how difficult it was.
Well, statistically speaking, like if people write down their goals, the probability of achieving them is higher. And that's just because they're something again works with like limbic brain or something like that. And I recently started like I reminded myself of this guy, and I talked about him on my podcast a couple of years ago. I was coming back to Toronto from Kazakhstan, and there's this Russian grandpa, and he had some problem with his documents or whatever. He was shuffling through them, so I helped him out. We started speaking. That was before war or whatever, that with the Russian Ukraine. So it was like all kind of neutral. Like there was nothing like, because you know how it is right now with the Russian speakers. Like you meet them in public, they all kind of like shuffle around and trying to figure you out like which side you're on and stuff. That's the beauty of being from Kazakhstan. For me personally, I'm like Switzerland. I'm like friends with everybody. But he is like one thing. He's very old, and he's such a like a typical prototypical, Russian grandpa. It's like, Samir, we should go fishing together. And I almost cried. I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is like, because, fishing is my childhood,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, let's go fishing, Samir. I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, we never spoke again or whatever. I called him once, I think. But anyways, the one thing he told me, Samir, I'm going to give you advice. Whatever you think your goals are in life, you have to go so much, much higher than they are, because you're going to be regret about not getting higher as well. There's so much, you can do so much. So whatever goals you have to go even higher than that, much higher. Don't underestimate yourself. Something along those lines. I need to re-listen to my podcast, what he said actually. Um, and so to reply to your question, or like to your remark about being upset about not achieving your goals, I think not achieving your goals is totally fine. You write down your goals, in my opinion, just so that you can remember to try them, to remember to work towards that. So while I'm very happy, that your year was very fruitful and all of that, like, I guess like it's to each their own, right? Like for me personally, like I'm gonna work on um writing down even higher goals as well. Like my goals are like earning this much money and all of that, but I want to earn even more, like, and something that is like unachievable, right? If you aim super high, you'll end up somewhere like not there, but you'll be very much closer if you aim lower.
Yeah, shoot for the
Um,
stars, you'll land on the moon.
exactly. And so that's what I do. And so it's a good reminder that with the resolutions thing. I usually kind of do my goals in March for some reason. I don't like I'm very slow and kind of like starting those, like, okay. But this was definitely an interesting year. Like I've done a lot of cool stuff. I've visited Europe with my wife, and Spain, Italy, and it was a good eye opener for me, like how other European countries
Portugal,
live.
no?
Portugal was in 2000. I didn't not this year.
Mm.
And so the traveling was a lot. Mexico, Kazakhstan, like that was a good, like I did like a good amount of traveling. And that was like I look at Canada with less of a kind of like, oh, this country doesn't work well. Like this country is actually still working pretty well. Like if I have to hold on to my pockets in the off season in Spain or Italy just because of those pickpocketers and stuff like that, I don't consider this country like safe. Like I don't care. Like the fact that I can go outside in Toronto and get myself a cup of coffee and just not think about anything, just listen to my podcast, and like that's still a huge privilege that I'm willing to pay good money if I'm in Spain or Italy. Same in Mexico. Very anxious place for me. Cancun, like beautiful, but like everyone's on drugs, everyone's selling you drugs, everyone's watching you. It's all like I'm not like this was an anxious thing for me. So that was a huge thing where like you have to like kind of like appreciate what you have. I've done some great deals. I did a six-figure deal with a professional boxer with a very highly popular brand. Actually, two deals as well. So I've done some um, great things in AI. We've launched a class. We just passed 400 students. The class is about how to use artificial intelligence as a real estate agent. So it's on Udemy right now. Career wise, became still do more things with Toronto DAO, which I'm a co-founder. Still do things at Parkdale Intelligence. Things are going great. The market itself is doing okay. Um, like overall, like I definitely think things like I could have done something better, but the year wasn't so bad as far as like new experiences and I would say new relationships and but it's like you want to have more. So I'm hoping in 2025 there's going to be more change. Things are changing really quickly, and I'm very happy that I keep my finger on the pulse with the whole tech thing, with crypto and AI.
Great. I think that was a good wrapper for us.
Fantastic.
Okay, then I'm just gonna stop the recording and we can chat and then
Well, okay. I wanted to say thank you for being on my. Thank you for having me for your interview, and you guys can find me on Azizi Podcast on YouTube, also Spotify and iTunes. Go to Udemy, check out my class, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
yeah, and read the episode description so we have all the links for all of this. Perfect.
All right.
And that's a wrap on this special bonus episode with my brother Samir. We covered career detours, digital marketing, PR, crypto, AI, and of course podcasting. Why we started, what we learned, and whether it was worth all the time and effort. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow, leave a review, or send it to someone who also has a sibling they'd love to argue with on a podcast. I'm Anaita Azizi, and this has been Change of Plans. Thanks for listening, and remember, change is never a failure, it's the first step. See you next time.